This episode is great for artists, people interested in starting a business, and people interested in life drawing.
Well, generally it's where we get a naked model and they stand in the middle of a circle and we draw them.
Phillips is the co-founder of Studio Maverick, a Brisbane-based life drawing community.
So I think me and Franny together wanted to create a community, or even just like bring back the people that we had done courses with at uni and bring them back into our lives in a nice like kind of structured way where it's like, we'll see you every Tuesday. It was really, about fostering like a community in Brisbane.
In this week's episode, we talked about starting a business in art.
It got picked up in like the Brisbane community. That's when we realized there are so many people out there who want to be involved in the arts, who want to be creative, but don't know how to. And I think that's when we realized there are so many more people that want to do this than we even expected.
Connecting with your inner child.
For me, it's always very personal stuff. So I think that's a really important part of my process in drawing is having a connection to my inner child.
And fostering a creative community.
The feedback we get from the models is one of the most rewarding things as well. When they tell us like they had an incredible time and felt so safe, like that's kind of obviously one of the most important things is fostering a safe environment for our models.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, let's do it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Froe Show. My name is Frank Mencken and I'm joined as always by my beautiful co-host, Joe Murray.
Hello, Froe.
That speaker was so loud.
Very loud.
We are joined by a wonderful guest, Ree.
Hi.
I actually wasn't sure if you wanted me to say your last name or not.
You can say my last name.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It's Phillips,
yeah,
right?
Phillips.
Yeah,
Feels
okay.
like, if you know it.
I was like thinking for a second, I was like, do I know it? I was like, I'm going to argue between Phillips and Philippa, but
You got that.
I had a 50-50 shot and I nailed it. I crushed that.
Good luck.
Ree, you're one half of Studio Maverick.
Yes, I am.
Which is a Brisbane-based life drawing place thing.
Yes, it is.
How do you say it without sounding like an idiot?
Well, I would just say that, so it's Studio Maverick and we are a life drawing studio.
That's it.
That's what I would say. And then once you say that, people will ask more questions, but that's kind of...
And then they ask you, what's life drawing?
Yeah, and then I say, well, generally it's where we get a naked model and they stand in the middle of a circle and we draw them.
And then they go, wow, I understand now.
Not really. It's never just like that simple. They go, that's like weird, that's bizarre, who would do that? Or they go, I'm really keen. One of the two reactions.
One of the two.
Yeah.
Wait, so how do you get people on board then if they're like how do you explain it to people if they're like, that's weird?
I kind of just like keep telling them and I keep talking to them and go, well, it's not weird actually. It's like it's like a really fundamental part of drawing and it's a really community-based activity and there's lots of fun people there and it's actually really cool. And I kind of break it down a bit and try to make it seem less intimidating, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is quite intimidating to be in it.
think so.
I should point out, I've modeled twice now.
I didn't know whether to bring that up. I was like, some people don't like it, but some people really want to do it.
Some people vlog the whole experience. So it is really intimidating. Because what, it's 35 people a class or something? Or
So we average about 30 people and then plus me and Franny in the back. So you've got about 32 people in a room, 32 people clothed, one person naked in the middle.
Yeah.
Can be completely intimidating, of course. Understand that.
Every time I do it, it 10x's the amount of total people that have seen me naked. It's
so
great.
True.
That was what I thought about the first time that I did it. I was like, this is immediately gonna you know how you feel if you graph people that have seen me naked over time, it's like that just is like a spike.
Yeah, you're really spiking in 2022.
Yeah. And then literally 2 months later, I went to a nude sauna in the Netherlands, so that spiked it again.
Wow, I wonder what the total is now.
It's way too high. If I die and they have a stats sheet at the end and it's like, this is the total amount of people that saw you naked, I'll be like, that's a big number.
When I was younger, I always thought that there was gonna be a stat sheet that there would be, my numbers would be somewhere, and I hope for you that exists. I hope that you can find
it's just
that
one.
stat.
It's total number of people that have seen you naked, and it's 1,400.
Amazing.
Actually, does censored count?
Oh, I don't know. I guess it depends what you define as nudity, which is a whole other question, isn't it?
Yeah, because my movie that I made about the life drawing thing has way more views than any of my other vlogs.
I saw that and I was really excited by that.
Yeah, and I looked at you can look in the analytics how people are finding it, and it's all search, and the search is just nude, naked man, naked person, person naked, naked, nude.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, so I was like, clearly there's something here.
So I was looking at it being like, oh, people love the arts.
Well, actually, like the 4th and 5th were life drawing modeling, like models for life drawing. So it was like people actually looking for life drawing stuff.
Okay, it
but
was
like
there too.
there was a lot of just like people, like probably 12-year-olds just looking for naked people on YouTube.
Yeah, they just don't know how to like search it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
okay.
anyway. Anyway,
Cool.
how did you get into life drawing? What was the process like starting that?
So basically, in I think like 2017, I went to uni at QCA in Brisbane, so the South Bank campus there.
That's Queensland College of
Queensland College of Art, yes. And I actually went in with a Bachelor of Photography. And photography was like the whole end game. That's what I wanted to do. It's what I've been doing for like 10 years prior to uni. But then when I got there, the course was much more art focused than I'd realised. And initially I was quite upset by that, as you can imagine, someone who wants to just study photography. But I actually ended up doing like a fundamentals of drawing class. And I think in the second trimester of that, we started doing life drawing, and something just really clicked for me, and it all felt so natural, and I'd almost like this part of me that I had no awareness of that was just very fulfilling, and I really enjoyed doing it. And it was something I continued throughout my uni degree, and I ended up changing my major to just fine art and majoring in drawing. Yeah, and it's something that I've kind of taken with me outside of uni as well now, and now I've started the studio. Yeah.
And why did you decide to start the studio after uni?
Well, so Fran and I did, like, I guess we were in the same cohort at uni, and we really gravitated towards each other, doing projects and stuff together. And I think we both spoke about how, like, I don't know, I guess like the arts community is so strong when you're in uni, and they always tell you, like, relish this because this is like the best community you'll ever have when you're in university. And we were really missing that community when we left, missing that almost like that back and forth, the communication, the critique, even just making work in a space with someone else and not kind of just being alone in your studio making work. I think we really missed the community of it. So we got together in, last year and decided to kind of get it going, and it's organically progressed, and now we're here. I mean, organically and with a lot of work.
With a lot of work.
a lot of work. But yeah, we're here now.
Nice. And actually physically starting it, what was that process like? Getting people involved, getting people to actually come?
Yes. So the actual start of it, me and Franny are quite funny, and we always will have to go on go on a retreat to start something. So we took ourselves away to the Gold Coast for 3 days and stayed in an Airbnb and just put all this energy into what do we need to do, getting our Instagram started, getting our social media started, getting our website. We didn't actually have a website, but getting an email even, and just things like that. Finding a space, which we were lucky enough to use through one of Franny's friends, and it was just a cafe in Paddington. And then kind of just putting the word out on social media, with the first post, just hey, we're a new life drawing place in Brisbane, come hang out. A little bit of that, and a little bit of spreading the word through community pages and stuff like that. But generally pretty social media, Instagram focused to start with. And then that kind of just grew through word of mouth and things like that.
Getting that community back, did you try to do that mostly through just getting Franny on board and doing it together, or was that just trying to get a whole bunch of people together to do life drawing? What was the goal with that?
So I think me and Franny together both wanted to create a community, or even just bring back the people that we had done courses with at uni and bring them back into our lives in a nice kind of structured way where it's we'll see you every Tuesday. So I think it was really about fostering a community in Brisbane that we can kind of keep growing, I guess. Yeah.
How were you able to then get people from outside of that uni group? Yeah,
that was something that we were a little bit, I guess, we didn't really know how to do to start with, because we kind of knew, there's these people. We know that there's these artists, they'll want to do it, but is there a reach beyond that? Not sure. So basically we kind of started playing around with marketing it a little bit differently, and we actually got TikTok.
Nice, yep.
And we had one TikTok go viral, and then that's when we knew. There is this whole...
By viral, you mean?
Well, I mean, like, okay, so I guess I don't know. Yeah, viral. I mean, it was like 84,000 people
That's
from
good.
like from 200 from the last one, from not having any followers on TikTok, having like 3 to going to that. It was wild. It got picked up in like the Brisbane community, and that's when we realized there are so many people out there who want to be involved in the arts, who want to be creative but don't know how to get in. And I think that's when we realized there are so many more people that want to do this than we even expected. Because we thought maybe we'll have like, you know, our regulars who are just artists who want to have that space. But there's actually so many more people that want to give it a go, even if it becomes just one thing they do in their life, like a bucket list thing, or people that start drawing and they're like, actually, I love this, and they come every week. I think just that reach that TikTok gave us, has really broadened our community.
We hear that a lot, actually. Like, probably the last 6 people we've had on all have the same story, where they're like, I had a TikTok go viral.
That's why I giggled when I said it, because I like watched your podcast and I was like, people have said this before.
Like, I think Bria mentioned it. Maddie, obviously, because Maddie is a TikToker.
Yep.
Yeah.
We've had it as well with the show. Like, we had a TikTok get 170,000.
That's incredible.
Which is like way too many people. That's like a stadium
It's so hard
full
to
of people.
fathom, isn't it? Yeah.
Like, and it's interesting. Like, I have that as well when I look at numbers like that. And it's like you try to fathom it, and then you get 1,000 on a TikTok, and you're like, man, that sucks. But then you're like, that's 1,000 people.
Yeah, you're so right. Like,
Yeah.
it's still, like, if you think about 1,000 people, that is so many.
That's way too many people.
way too many people
That's a
looking
full
at things.
concert. Like, that's wild.
I can't comprehend this.
Yeah. But getting models is obviously a big part of what you do.
Mm-hmm.
What's that process like, getting models?
So initially we just did like a call out. So when we announced our business and studio through Instagram, we just did a little story that was like, we're looking for models, no experience required. And we just had people reach out to us just through Instagram DMs. And that has literally been how it's like, well, it's literally what it's been like the whole time now. It's like through word of mouth as well. So basically we really wanted to, again, continue with that kind of community aspect and really give back to the community. So we actually decided to not go through an agency and just kind of hire our friends or hire people in Brisbane who just kind of wanted to give it a go and get a bit of extra money, happy to do it. And yeah, so I think it's worked out really well like that. And then we kind of will get more people who'll talk to their friends and say, I really enjoyed modelling with you. And then their friend contacts us, and it's kind of been like a really cool thing that's happening.
I've had that I've had that every time I've posted like pictures or drawings. People reply and they're like, "Oh, where did you do this? I want to reach out to them and like do modeling."
Because there's a surprising amount of people that will say to me, like, I've always wanted to do this, or like it's on my bucket list, or they say like, I've, you know, been struggling with body image and I feel like this is just going to make me feel so much better about myself. And I think I love like the feedback we get from the models is one of the most rewarding things as well. When they tell us like that they had an incredible time and felt so safe, like that's kind of one of, like, obviously one of the most important things is fostering a safe environment for our models.
How important is diversity for you in terms of getting models?
Yeah, really important. Something we definitely think about a lot. And luckily enough, we've had like I think because the arts community, the Brisbane community is so diverse as it is, the amount of people that have reached out to us have, it has been a diverse group of people. And I think it is really important to us to have diversity in gender and race and body sizes, and just kind of really have a true representation of what the world actually looks like in a life drawing class.
So you're saying that the class it's like a workshop, right?
So I guess class is a loose term.
Yeah.
So generally you'll see us use the word session. Okay. So our every Tuesday night sessions are unguided. So we don't really teach anything. We're just facilitating a space. So we just set up the space, have your chairs ready. We have a bit of materials provided, but generally people bring their own. You get there and then you just kind of draw for a bit. We have like the model in the middle, it's all timed and stuff like that. So you have time poses and people draw. And then we have like a little break in the middle where we will kind of go around and chat. And if anyone wants a bit of advice, we can give it. And then we draw again. But generally those sessions are really just like casual drawing, hanging out. We do workshops as well, like pop-up workshops that come through every now and then. And that's more like a teaching-based thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever thought about doing stuff outside of life modelling?
Yeah, it's like we really want to continue to grow our studio. And like, if you look at our little Notion, you'll see all the different ideas that we have.
use Notion
We
too?
use Notion. Do you use Notion?
Yeah.
Oh, I think it's my favorite because we've used a few different to get here, but Notion's our favorite thus far.
I use Notion all the time.
So we have like long-term goals, short-term goals. Franny, who is not here, she is like an absolute like powerhouse at organization, and she just has all our little tabs and everything. And like, what are we doing today? And she got the tab ready to go. So long-term, lots of different ideas. We kind of want to start like a bit more like blogging and a bit more kind of what's on in Brisbane in the art scene, being a bit more involved in the art scene. Having exhibitions, doing kind of zines and stuff. Like, there's lots of things we really want to do. And I think now that we've like seen what is possible with a bit of hard work, it's like, oh, I don't know why we would stop. We could just keep going.
Yeah, you've seen kind of that peak, and now you're like, okay, let's just keep moving towards something
Yeah,
new
and
more
like we can
exciting.
kind of see what people are interested in, what the realistic numbers we're going to get is, and it's kind of cool.
Yeah. Do you have that next step already planned?
We have like a... We have a plan to have a plan. So we're gonna have we have our big Mav workshop day like on the calendar there, but it keeps moving back a little bit.
Yeah.
But we do have a plan for a plan,
Yeah.
and that would eventually be having our own space. Would be amazing. That's what we would love to do, and then that space could really be everything.
Yeah.
Like we could, rent out studio space, do our exhibitions in that, have more workshops, just have basically as much as we want. And that's kind of the goal for us, really.
Yeah, that's been like you were saying about community, that's been the biggest advantage of us being in event space is we have that community of people are constantly here creating art and just being creative.
Yep.
And it's so beneficial to your own creativity to
It is,
have
isn't
that, even just being in that environment. Like, you don't even have to interact with them. But like when you're in a space and other people are creating, you're like, oh, I should probably make something now.
Even if you make out of guilt, it starts.
Yeah,
something.
yeah, and then you get rolling and you get rolling. But how has art played a role in your life before even getting to uni?
That's a very interesting question. And I feel like before uni, I really didn't see myself as an artist and didn't really understand photography as art. And I think that's like a sad reality that I felt that, but it felt very separate to the arts, I think. And I'm not sure what that was, or if that's kind of just a general feeling maybe anyway. So when I was younger, I was very creative, very artistic, and I think I just chose photography and then was like, oh, well, I'm a photographer now, so that's not part of what I do. But I think realistically, I was always very much involved in like taking very like creative photos and really just enjoying that part of it. So I think it was kind of this thing that was almost in the background, and it was always there, but it hadn't quite found it yet.
Did you do any drawing before, like while you were, so when you went to uni and was like, I want to do photography, were you doing any drawing before then or during that?
Not really.
No?
I used to do like quite like realistic studies of my hands and stuff just for fun, but every few months, maybe like every 6 months, I'd do a drawing. I'd be like, oh, I drew this, and I had the materials, but it wasn't a passion, and I drew very differently. I drew in a way that I would Google like how to draw this, and I would do that drawing. But the drawing that I did in uni was something that came out of me, I guess, and the drawing that I felt really comfortable and natural doing, and I was like, oh, I don't think this is good. But it was really fun. And then someone was like, no, that's good. And I was like, oh, thanks. So I think it was like what I really actually wanted to do. I just didn't know that had value, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's something that we've stumbled into as well. I think that's every artist, right? Like you just try a bunch of stuff and then suddenly you hit something and they're like, that's actually really cool. And you're really good at that thing. Like we kind of get it now. Like we're 2.5 years into doing this podcast now. And now we get people being like, you guys are really good interviewers. It's like, oh, okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Because it's such a, like, I'm sure you have this with drawing too. Like it's such a gradual progression that you don't really think about it, and then you look back at where you started and you're like, whoa.
Yeah, for sure. I look back at like my first year projects and I'm like, oh. But it's so sweet, and then you kind of see people going through the same thing, and it's like, yeah, for sure, I see where you are, and then you kind of keep going, and I love it.
Just keep pushing people.
Keep pushing.
You got to keep working towards it.
But I do think that as well, like in that push, I think I was also a little bit surprised by drawing, because when I was in live drawing sessions, I found it so much easier and more natural than I expected. And I think that part of it was like, oh, it mustn't I'm like, this is too natural and easy. Like I'll have to make it harder. But it's like sometimes like the thing that is easy is the thing that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me at least.
No, I totally agree. Would you say then, like as an extension of that there's kind of a spiritual aspect to life drawing for you?
I think so. I think it's something that definitely requires presence and almost like you have to go into this meditative state. Or it kind of requires me to be with myself, I guess, and with my mind, with my body all together. And I think that is quite a spiritual thing, especially like now where so much of what I do is on my computer and on my phone. So that like idea of just having something in my hand and just drawing and looking and connecting with body inside and everything, I think it is quite spiritual. Yeah.
When you were starting your journey, like when you got into photography, when and how did that start?
So it actually started when my parents, I think they had one of those tiny, like the first digital cameras essentially. Loved it. I mean, I was just like really into selfies, like absolutely loved selfies, loved taking photos of myself more than anyone should.
You were ahead of the curve.
I really was. Like this was 2006, 2007, or even before then, like probably 2005. I was really into it. And then for a birthday, my parents got me, I don't know if you ever saw these cameras. They were like digital cameras that didn't have a screen.
Yes.
And you could take like 12 photos with them.
Yeah, because they had like the 8 megabyte
Yes.
SD cards. Yeah, we had one of these. Yeah.
Yes. So you would take the 12 photos and go upload it on the computer, look at them and be like, okay, go back out. And I was quite theatrical with it as well. So like me and my cousins would like stage these like 12 photos of like, say maybe like one of us would be like get hit by a ball and then the whole thing, I don't know, it was very dramatic and very silly and very fun. So we would do that. And then me and my friends would take little fashion shoot like photos and things like that. And I would just take my camera with me everywhere. And then eventually got a DSLR and kind of just did the same thing with a DSLR.
Do you remember what your first DSLR was?
It was a Nikon D... I want to say 60. Okay. It was a really little one with a kit lens, and I loved it. Absolutely loved it. It could be a 50, but like I feel like someone's gonna say that's like a really expensive camera, and that's not the right one.
That was $3,000 in 2008.
No, not that one. And then it kind of just became the camera went with me everywhere. I just loved taking photos of everything, and then that became a bit more like, I got like a better camera. I got my next Nikon, and then it became a lot about like travel photography and trying to do like travel Instagram and hit that mark. We've all done that.
I am loving how similar our journey is so far.
And like, you know, I was so obsessed with the gear as well, like having the right tripod, having the right camera, having everything correct.
Like I need a new 50mm 1.8.
Oh, of course. Like I need to spend $2,000 on this lens right now, even though it's really big and clunky and it probably won't be great for traveling with, but I need it because I read this blog.
I watched this Peter McKinnon video once, and now I need a 70 to 200.
Oh, yeah. So I know that like when I was traveling, it was always about the camera, taking the camera with me everywhere. And then I think I just kind of maybe got sick of carrying that camera everywhere. And I know when I got to uni, I don't know what happened because I had signed up for all these photography courses, and then almost like at the end of my degree, I was like, oh shit, I forgot to do photography. But I had a good time. And then I remember like one of my last overseas trips I did before COVID, I like took just a small little camera with a 50 millimeter lens or like a 25, I can't remember, and like my film camera, and I didn't take my computer, and I was just like, I'm not doing the photography thing this time. I'm just going to try to be present. Not saying that you can't be present when you're doing the photography thing traveling, but it was a really different experience to kind of just rely on the little camera, and I really liked that. I think that was really fun as well.
Have you found that those photography things have like turned into or translated well into your drawing?
Yeah, I think so. I think they go really well together. I think like having a bit of an idea of form and the way the body moves because of so much like looking at it so often with photography and framing things, which sounds quite strange, but that really helped I think when I first started with my life drawing. And a lot of my own practice with life drawing is a lot of actual like self portraiture, if that makes sense. So I do a lot of like filming of myself or drawing from the mirror. So the camera's kind of involved most of the time, realistically. It stayed with me.
I love it. It's so funny that like your journey mirrors mine so closely in terms. But instead of going to, I obviously haven't gone to drawing, but I've switched to film. Like
Isn't that funny?
the exact same story. Like I went to uni and then I was like, I'm filming way more than I'm taking photos. Like
It's weird how life
yeah,
works.
because I was in uni when I started like doing YouTube like as a thing. Like I was like, okay, I'm actually gonna take this seriously now. And then I dropped out and then I was like super lost for a year and I was like, looked back on my whole life and I was like, oh, I've just been making, like, I made my first movie when I was 10 and I made my first short film at 13. Like, you know, it's like you look back and you're like, oh, right. Now I see it. Like, you connect all those dots. But I did the exact same thing. I, like, had my little digital camera and then I got a Canon 550D from my mum and then did it like a travel blog and then a travel Instagram and I, like... This is like when I had my first job, so I threw money at the thing and like spent money on Instagram ads, and I was like, surely people will see how good I am.
If I just get the right hashtags, people will find me. For
There's
sure.
like early enough in Instagram that you can be like, maybe I'll.
Yeah,
maybe I'll
I
pop.
felt very hopeful.
I don't think we should have been.
Instagram really played us too, like played the photographers.
Absolutely. Well, it's so bad for photographers now, though,
Yeah.
Instagram. Like, there's no platform for photographers,
No.
really.
There really isn't. And like with this new update that's coming, I haven't got it on my phone yet, but apparently it's just a terrible scrolling experience.
It's all video, I think. They like
Yeah.
prioritize video over anything else.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it's supposed to be a photo-based platform.
Ooh.
I feel like I disagree a little bit.
Ooh,
A little bit.
Okay.
I think, well, when we were talking to Bria last week, she brought up something very interesting about how Instagram is a lot more about like what people want to see. And so I feel like that translates really well into photography. So I don't know. So like you see a lot of the reels that are like, I'm a photographer and I took these photos.
Yeah, but they're
Right.
still videos.
True.
You can't just post it like
But
the thing that I'm saying is that Instagram doesn't prioritize just photos
Okay.
within the algorithm.
Right, okay.
Like you kind of have to know how to make a good reel to
Yeah.
show your good photos, I guess.
Which is hard.
Yeah.
So hard. People have such short attention spans. It's
We
wild.
really do. Yeah.
Like we like, well, I shouldn't say we. Joe has been working really hard on making all of these reels. I cannot take credit for that. But he's been working really hard on that, and all those reels and TikToks and YouTube Shorts have like been the best traction that we've ever gotten on the podcast. And it's so like, it's on the one hand, it's really cool and it's really exciting. I'm sure it's the same thing that you have with the Maverick TikTok. It's like,
yeah.
sure, this is really cool that we're getting this traction, but also like. This is the 15-second version of like the 2-hour thing that we do, and it's like, can we transfer
Like,
them,
just come over now. Come look to the longer one.
please?
But I think it's so funny, like, and you never know what's going to work with, like, there's no, like, secret code, I swear, because, I mean, there is a secret code, I don't know what it is, but our TikToks that go viral, or our reels that, like, actually got some traction, it's like, what? Like, what was it about this video that you liked? And you try to recreate it, and they're like, no.
Actually, we changed our minds today.
We don't like that anymore.
On Thursdays, we don't like those videos. On Fridays,
We love those videos.
we love those videos. How does your drawing practice how has your drawing practice evolved since becoming kind of a industry professional, I guess, by running these sessions?
Wow, thank you. I almost like I'm doing less drawing, and that sucks. I mean, no, that doesn't suck. Cut that out. I just feel like, yes, like I'm probably doing less drawing myself because I'm so focused on building Maverick and building the studio. So week to week, I don't do as much live drawing as I would like to. We try to like do Franny draws one week and I draw the next week. To kind of like force ourselves to do it, because so easily we can just take a back seat and be like, is everyone enjoying themselves? Is the vibe good? Is the music right? Is the model comfortable? So there's a lot to think about. I think it definitely keeps me involved in the arts regardless of how much I am making that week. I am talking to people, talking about their practices, maybe giving advice, learning about shows, getting advice, just growing as a person and an artist, I think, definitely, regardless of how much content is actually coming out.
what's been the hardest part so far in starting and running Maverick?
That's a good question. I think me and Franny probably have different answers for this, but I guess for me it's probably just committing to something, because I'm such a little I was so used to that uni lifestyle of kind of just doing whatever, coming in and out of things, but now I have something that's every single week.
Yeah.
And that's a huge commitment, and it's a great commitment, but it's work. And I think that's what maybe I didn't expect, that I would be, sorry, Froe's distracting me, and I know I'm not supposed to be distracted. I think, just that committing to something outside of myself and kind of being opened up to the world as well, opened up to putting yourself out there is really scary, open for ridicule, open for people to say, hey, I didn't like that, and me to go, oh, okay, well, I guess that doesn't really matter, but no, it does matter, but I guess open for criticism, I guess, which is, when you put your podcast up or when you put a video up, people can comment, people can say things, and I think it's learning how to be okay with maybe not everyone's going to like something I do.
It's so hard too, though. Obviously there's that conscious decision of okay, people aren't going to like what I do. That's okay. They're again, everything is not for everyone,
Yeah.
But then you actually get a mean comment and you're like, oh.
Yeah, we had someone on the thing on one of our TikToks. We just said hey, if you're in Brisbane and want to try life drawing, come join us. And people just being like, no. You didn't have to comment.
You could have just scrolled.
You can definitely scroll. You can even press not interested. There's things you can do before you hurt my feelings.
Oh, that's so mean.
But it's kind of more even just the feeling of maybe the imposter syndrome that sets in when you feel I'm about to start this studio. Am I qualified enough to do this? And I think that was one of the hard things to overcome as well.
Yeah, imposter syndrome is such a real thing. So
real.
Especially for artists, because a lot of artists don't, you obviously have that university education. But even then, you have that piece of paper and you're like, okay, I'm technically qualified.
Yeah.
But
still.
And I think that's for every artist. I know that I feel it now, and I know that you have a degree, but I'm surrounded by people that have degrees.
Everyone has a degree.
Everyone has a degree, except me. But even people here, artists that I know who are immensely talented, they're I just don't feel like I'm good enough to be doing X, Y, Z. Or they're I have a private show that I'm doing, and I have collectors, and I have X, Y, and Z. And it's obviously they're crushing it.
That's incredible.
Yeah. But then also you have that oh shit, am I actually good enough for this?
Yeah. And I think what really helps me get through that is having Franny, having a partner to do it with.
Yeah.
Someone that's we got this.
Yeah. But we're sorted.
We got this.
Yeah. And you don't always have to hold that weight, I guess.
No.
And I think that ties really nicely back to the community thing.
I think so too. And the feedback we get from our community is always great. But the feedback is always good. So it's always worth putting yourself out there, I think, because what we've been able to create and foster has been incredible.
Do you think you've ever missed an opportunity or said no to something from getting a little bit of imposter syndrome?
For me personally, for sure. Definitely. Anxiety, I can be a bit anxious and be I would rather not fail than try sometimes, I think. Just be oh, if I can't get it perfect, then I don't want to do it. So I think there has been times in my life, unfortunately, where I have missed opportunities, but I think I'm trying to hold on to that lesson now and be let's not do that again.
How have you worked through that and now, starting this business and all that?
I think, as I kind of mentioned, having that support, having Franny with me, and also starting the studio at such kind of a small scale as well. And there was no pressure on us necessarily. It's okay, we have, I think in the place we started, we could have about 10 people in there. We didn't put that much money into it, so there wasn't much to lose. And I think that really helped me be okay, let's just do it and let's just see what happens. And that in itself has given me the confidence to kind of okay, you've got to take more opportunities. You've got to trust yourself a bit more because you can do things.
scaling is such a big thing for artists because it's so easy to just sit at one level.
Yes. And I think sometimes it would be like a lot more comfortable. I mean, it is comfortable.
Yeah.
And I think like, yeah, this has been a big step up going out of uni and being like, okay, now I'm going to run something. And I was so used to being on the other side of that. So I think it's a big thing for a lot of artists to go through.
What was that decision actually like for you? Like that moment of decision being like, okay, I'm going to do this now.
It's hard to remember because it was like, it's not that long ago. I've just got a bad memory. That decision felt pretty scary and felt very exciting. And it was also, there was just so much that we kind of had to do that it was very energized decision of like, okay, if we're doing this, we've got to get this, we've got to get paper, we've got to get boards, we've got to do this, we've got to think about this, reach out to this person. So it was like a very exciting, energized, nervous feeling, but it was good. It was like, okay, I'm doing something I really care about. This feels cool with someone I really care about.
Yeah. And over the course of your career, obviously, like you make a lot of decisions, like deciding to go into drawing or deciding to even start photography in the first place. Do you think that there's been a really big crossing point for you where you made a big decision of like, okay, I'm gonna go this way, and that's really altered the path of your artistic career up to this point?
I think it was one of my drawing classes where I was talking to my lecturer and he was kind of just saying like, there's something like really interesting going on here and you're a drawer, like this is what you should be doing. And I remember going home and being like, I'm not a drawer. Like, why did he say that? It's just like, what do I do with this information? And I was overwhelmed by it. But that really did change the path of my life, that conversation, that class. And I actually took a year off uni and thought I was going to study something else. And was like, oh, am I going to study science? I don't know. Like, it was this weird time in my life and I was just trying to do everything. And then I actually came back and that's when I changed to fine art. And that's when I met Franny. So it was like, because she wasn't in the first time, like my first cohort, she was in my second one. So it was like this really like kind of like thing, like the stars aligned, because I wouldn't have met her otherwise if I didn't go away and step back and be like, do I want to do drawing? Yes, come back. So
it's so interesting how that works too, right? Like one decision sparks so much more in your life.
Yeah.
I know that I've had that. Like, there's so many things that I wouldn't even be doing without XYZ decision. Like, you know, I wouldn't be a filmmaker if I didn't go to uni, if I didn't start doing acting, if I didn't like get into the musical in grade 8. Like, it's wild.
The musical changed everything.
Yeah, but like unironically,
no,
yes,
for real.
like actually, because that was the first time I was like, oh, art is an option. Because up until that point, I was like, I'm going to be a scientist.
Whoa.
Yeah. So I like didn't do anything creative before that.
Yeah.
Like I just played video games and like dinosaurs, and that was it.
So you wanted to be like what kind of scientist?
I wanted to be a chemist.
Oh, wow.
I wanted to work in chemistry. And actually, that's not entirely true. I wanted to work in chemistry or biology, but I knew that there wasn't money in biology. So I was like, I'm going to make the smart decision and be a
You were
be
like,
a chemist.
and now you're an artist.
And now I'm an artist. That's exactly
Where
right.
the money is.
Everyone knows that's where the money is, in art.
Where do you think you would be now? What do you reckon you'd be doing now if you didn't go back and study fine arts?
Wow. So I actually dropped out and then changed course completely to study science, and I wanted to do wildlife biology.
That's what I wanted to do.
Wild. And that's because, I mean, I think that all really stems from the fact that I really like Tasmanian devils. So I'm not sure if it was really a thought out decision.
They're equally cute and scary. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I actually have like that big tattoo that I have.
Oh yeah, you
that's
have
a Tasmanian devil
tattoo.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah. So I think it was like this dream of mine to be like, I'm going to study this and I'm going to move to Tasmania and I'm going to live this like little wilderness lifestyle. And then I don't know what happened. I can't even remember that year properly, but I mean, I do remember the year. That's when I went traveling, I think, to like India and Asia, and I had like this big, beautiful time overseas alone for a bit, and then meeting up with friends, and then kind of realized like, no, I really want to give this art thing a go. Like, I don't want to give up yet. Like, I really want to try this and do this, and I'm really grateful that I did.
I think, having that sort of rut is really important, because it really makes you reevaluate where you're at.
Yeah.
I know, like we've talked about this recently, that like I had a massive creative rut, and so I just started climbing every day for like a year and a half. And I literally did nothing else. I worked like a couple of days a week, and then I just climbed. But through that, like I met so many people, and through that I met the person who brought me to Vent Space and got me here.
Oh,
and that was really like
Riley.
that's where I met Riley, and that was the big spark for us to move in here and then really start taking the podcast seriously, which turned into me taking filmmaking more seriously, which just turned into way more opportunities that I can't talk about now, but I will be able to talk about in a couple months. But it's just like without any of that, like none of this would have happened. And it's like you just need that rut, and I think that's so hard to explain to people that are there, that are in that rut, to be like, hey, it's going to be okay, like you will get through this.
I think it's hard to even explain that to myself when I'm in like a rut again. It's like, it's okay. I'm like, oh no, this rut sucks, and it's like, this is a good rut, don't worry.
we will get out of this.
We will get out of this.
Yeah.
And so interesting that what climbing has brought to your life, though.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's wild. But like it doesn't, like obviously people, I'm not saying like go climb and your life will be answered.
This will become a climbing podcast.
All your questions will be answered.
Climbing changed my life.
Yeah, climbing. Yep. But no, it's so, yeah, I think people just need to find, and like for you it was travel, like being able to travel and really, I think you just need something that lets you dig deeper within yourself and really find what makes you not necessarily happy, but fulfilled, and that really like fills your cup. I think.
And I think that's like a good choice of words, not necessarily happy but fulfilled, because you might not be happy every day when you're doing something that's a little bit hard.
I'm definitely really stressed a lot of the time.
Yeah. Really? Yes, I get that, but it's so worth it.
How do you deal with stress now, given that you're co-running this business?
I really like to sleep. I'm really good at sleeping, and I think
Me too. I'm really good at sleeping.
So I like to have like a sleep in sometimes and just kind of let myself do that. I find that's a really good way for me to process stress, is just kind of sleeping it off.
Yeah.
Or sometimes me and Franny are really good at like meeting each other's needs, and kind of say maybe sometimes one person might need like a bit of a week to like not be posting on social media and focusing on themselves a bit more, and the other person will take that role. And I think that's what's really helped, is having open communication with my partner about like, you know, where we're at. And I think that's really helped. And then sometimes we're both just like, you know what, today we're not going to do any math work, and we're just going to, I don't know, get some food and go for a walk or something. And kind of, I like that as well, being able to separate my life from the studio.
Yeah, that balance
helps.
is so important.
Yeah.
To being able to step away from it. And that's the advantage you have running a business, I think. Like being able to set your own hours. Because I'm very aware that I don't really start having a good conscious brain until like 11 a.m.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, so when I work at I still work a traditional job some days. And that starts at 8. And I'm like, no, this is rough.
You're not there in like...
Not there
mine.
practically.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's so interesting that you said that. And moving away from Studio Maverick, 'cause I think we've talked about that a lot. Do you draw anything else still outside of life drawing?
Yeah, so sometimes, I mean, actually, I do a bit of design work sometimes for my current job.
I think I've worn some of your stuff on the
Thank
podcast
you.
before.
Oh, on the podcast?
Yes,
Oh,
definitely.
wow. So at my job at 9 Degrees, if I could mention that?
You can mention it.
Okay, cool. At 9 Degrees, I kind of stepped into this weird little role of like doing a bit of like merch design and design for our comps and stuff. So I get to be very creative with that and just draw things about climbing, which I really like. And I love seeing people wear the merch. That makes me really happy. So that's something I do. And also just, yeah, like a little bit of drawing for myself as well. But generally, like, it's lots of design stuff, which is cool.
I wore your shirt in the Netherlands, actually, at a climbing gym. And I got some comments on it. People really liked it.
That's so lovely. Which shirt was it?
It was the green shirt
It was the green one.
with the I think it's indie on the back
Yeah.
and someone else?
My sister, actually.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, interesting. That's a question I didn't know I needed answered.
But now you have it answered.
But now I know.
Yes, the one with the headless figures on the back of the shirt with the little
creepy headless
Monsterius.
No, I love it. I wear that shirt all the time.
I really like that one too.
Interestingly enough, actually, massive tangent, and this is so unrelated, but that shirt legitimately made me realize that green is like my favorite color, because I started wearing that shirt, and then I wore that shirt every day, and then I started wearing a green jacket with the green shirt, and then like people started gifting me green shirts for my birthday and like Christmas and stuff, because they saw me wearing that all the time, and I was like, all right, I guess I'm just like the green guy now.
So you didn't like necessarily know about green beforehand?
I mean, I knew about the color green, yeah, but like...
No, but like... You have such green like energy.
I've been told that too now.
I'm like, what do you mean you didn't know?
I didn't know. I was like, I just never had a favorite color before that point. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh, green.
Green's my favorite color too.
What's your favorite color, Joe?
Probably some sort of blue.
All right, well, it
Nice.
sucks to be wrong. No.
Do you like the ocean? Are you like a surfer?
Honestly, wish I could surf. Terrified of sharks. So, but yeah, love the ocean, love the water. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think like ocean people, blue. I always see that. It makes sense. But I think you
Forest people.
Forest people. Yeah.
Give me a hut
Weird ones.
in the rainforest and I will be sorted.
Me too.
What's your next steps personally outside of Maverick? What do you want to achieve?
So for me personally, I would just love to keep entering myself into like exhibitions. I really enjoy being part of like group exhibitions. I think it's a great way to make work. So basically those are just kind of a few artists that get together and have maybe like a similar theme to their work, and I mean, you know what a group exhibition is. Yeah, and I really enjoy being part of those because I feel like it's like, yeah, as I said, like a really nice way to make some new work or kind of revive some old work. So I think I have one coming up in, is it June, July? I need to talk.
It's currently June.
It could be soon. And that will actually have some of my photography work in it, which is exciting. And I think, yeah, eventually I really like the idea of taking my practice to that next level, doing some more work with that and looking at, I really like bookmaking and things like that and working with archive photography. So that's a part of something I do. And I think studying honours as well is something I would like to do eventually. I don't know when I want to do that, but eventually.
Have you done much collaborative art in the past?
Done a little bit with Franny. I do everything with Franny. We've done like drawing sessions together where we just have like big, like we've covered the whole garage in paper and just drawn everywhere, and that's been really fun. Or making like collaborative zines with people at uni and stuff, but generally most of my work has been pretty solo. Yeah.
With what you said about the garage door, it sounds very like, I can't find a good way to word it, but it sounds like childish in a way. And do you feel like it's, as an extension of that, do you feel like it's important within your practice to connect with that inner child?
Definitely. So much of my drawing is like de-skilled drawing. It almost looks like a child has done it. And it's so fun and it's so rewarding. And like a lot of... Can
you like break that down a bit more? Like what does that practice of de-skilled drawing actually look like?
So when I say de-skilled, I mean something that isn't necessarily technically correct. So it'll be like the hand looks like it's kind of probably wrong, or the fingers look wrong, or it's not quite, the body's angled a bit strange, or the torso's long, or the head's big, or things like that. It looks like maybe like a child drew it. Like I'm not aiming for perfection at all with my drawings because that doesn't really satisfy any part of me. I just want to have fun. And a lot of the work that I actually make, like on my own practice, is about like my childhood, or it's about family, or like something inside of me. It's always very personal stuff. So I think that's a really like important part of my process in drawing, is having a connection to my inner child. And I think in like one of my recent projects, I was drawing using colour, and that's something I hadn't done before. Everything was very dark and mysterious, and then all of a sudden this like colourful little person came out, and I was like, that's cool. It's cool to know that there's some like happiness in there. That was really nice.
So how do you relate your childhood to your art then? What does that actually look like in practice?
In practice, I work a lot from photography, which again, I think when you asked me earlier how I connect photography into my work, I forgot about this. So I will draw from photographs from my like childhood collection, or even looking at photos of like my dad's upbringing, like his childhood and things like that. And I love to draw like my family and kind of collage things together and stuff like that, and talk about nostalgia a lot in my work. And I'm like one of 7, like one of 5 children. So like 7 growing up in a household, and it was kind of like this chaotic little mess of bodies. And that's kind of what comes out of my work, I guess, a lot, like lines connecting and things like that.
So because you've been taking photos since like 2006, I think you said, do you have this like massive bank of just photos of the past like 20 years basically?
Yeah. And like, if you think about what hard drives used to be like just a few years ago, like those terabyte hard drives that you had to like plug in, like I'm sure they still you probably have something like that now.
Yeah, I have heaps of
Yeah, you're like, oh no, I have that. So I was always like carrying that with me, and I have so many photos from the last 20 years of my life essentially, and then also my family photos. And I do revisit them a lot for my practice now. And I think like that de-skilled word is fun as well, because when I was little, I was taking very de-skilled photos, I guess, where like I didn't know what aperture was or all that stuff. And I was just doing it.
You're just going off vibes. You're like, yeah, that looks sick.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the most fun though. Like it's interesting that you've mentioned that de-skilled thing, because it's kind of been a driving factor in the vlog as well.
Yeah.
Is like, yes, there's technical skill behind a lot of it, but a lot of the shots are not technically good. Like it's just like, this is what I have at the, like it's recording right now. That's not a good shot, but it's practical for the moment.
Yeah.
So I really relate to you talking about like doing a de-skilled practice.
Yeah.
And also having a bank of information, like that's been a big part of why I wanted to do it as well, is just have a full year of video that I just have access to, that's just catalogued like my 21st year of life. That's wild.
And I think like for me, I spend so much time. So I grew up on like a farm that my dad grew up on, and this has been like such a big part of my work. And this idea of like this catalogue of life and lineage that existed before I even got around, and there's all this stuff I have access to. And I love the idea of like your kids or something could look at these photos of yours and be like, oh, I'm gonna do something with that, all these videos of yours and to see your life. And I think that's so special.
Those are some of my favorite exhibitions as well, where it's like someone has found work from their parents,
yes,
and then they've gone, okay, I'm going to recreate this, or I'm going to appropriate this in my own way. I find that fascinating.
Yes, I have completely appropriated my dad's childhood.
We are kind of coming to a close here. Do you want to do your little thingy?
Sure. As we come to an end, is there anything in the show that you wish we had talked about, or something you wish we had brought up, or something you wish we'd asked?
Or a story that you would like to tell?
It's a very hard question.
That's why we asked.
I think that maybe I should explain a bit more. Did I explain like what our sessions are?
Very briefly, but
yeah.
feel free.
Yeah, so basically we work out of the station in Fortitude Valley every Tuesday evening from 6:30 to 8:15 p.m. 2 hours of just unguided life drawing. It's super fun, super chill, lots of lovely people, about 30 people each night. You can book online and come hang out with us. I think that's probably the main thing that I wanted to say. And it is for everyone. I'm not sure if I've mentioned that either. It is for beginners, very beginner friendly. Like half the time, half the class is beginners. So if you've never drawn before, even if you're like a drawing pro, like you'll have fun. It's great.
It is super fun. It is super fun. I'm going to actually come like draw at
You
one
should.
soon. I just haven't been able to make it line up just yet, but
Okay.
I will definitely come. Final question. If you could give someone that is looking to start drawing or looking to start a career in the arts, or is even just thinking about it, what advice would you give that person?
Ooh. For me, I think like the advice that I would give, I think the best stuff or the most genuine stuff comes from your own experience, or whatever's on the inside of you, if that makes sense. So I think making work about your lived experience is one of the most beautiful and most vulnerable things you can do. So I think doing something that's meaningful to you in the arts is so special. And I think if you can be vulnerable and want to do that, I think it'd be great.
That was a really lovely answer, actually.
Was it?
It was very sweet.
Okay, 'cause I was like, oh my God, this doesn't make any sense.
No, it definitely did.
Okay.
I was following it.
Thank you. I was not.
I was just kind of saying
Blacked out.
things and hoping for the best. Well, is there anything you want to plug? Where can people find you? Where can people find Maverick?
So you can find Maverick at Studio Maverick. We are Maverik, no C.
No C.
We also have a website now, so studiomaverick.com. Both Franny and I are on Instagram as well. We both have our own artist practice. You can find us through Maverick as well.
Perfect. It'll all be linked as well.
It's all,
for
yeah.
reasons.
Oh, like it's all linked. You know, you've got that covered. That's the bit that you do.
It's all good. Yeah, perfect. Okay, well, we have a little tradition on the show where our guests get to press this big button. It's like our little outro song.
I've been wanting to press it.
I love it. It's just become a thing now. It's so good. So what'll happen is I'll do the outro to camera and then you get to press the button.
Okay, cool.
You ready? You want to
Yep.
get ready to press the button? Okay. Thank you so much for watching or listening to this episode of The Froe Show. We hope you had a great time. Go check out Studio Maverick and Ree and Franny as well, even though she's not here, on Instagram or wherever you can find them. Thank you so much, and we will see you next week. And go rate us on Spotify. Bye.
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 There we go. Beautiful. Well done.
So focused on pressing the button that I was like, what do you mean? I gotta press the button?
That went well. You nailed that.
Thank you.
Crushed it.
You two are so good.